Welcome to the second part on DataMesh. Today you will watch an episode on the state of the art and the main use cases. Welcome back, Miron, to the second
Hi,
part of the episode on DataMesh.
looking forward to it.
Now we are going to talk about the use cases. So, what are the main areas or the benefits that a company can gain by using DataMesh? And before we start on talking on concrete use cases, uh, what should be addressed first when a company is interested on DataMesh?
What they should, so first of all, they should look at their data readiness, I would say. So look at how is their data, how is their landscape, and how is their company readiness for data within the company and the cultural fit. And we're going to talk about that in a minute, I guess, because it's an important part. How good are you with data? How is your company set up to just look at data and know that, and how's your cultural fit to that? So, and then I guess most companies have a way ahead of them, and they have to address this in order to make that possible.
And imagine that I am a head of infrastructure or a head of, I don't know, innovation, and I want to do more research on what is data mesh, and I want to maybe convince to do a POC in my organization. How should I start?
So if you go like that, then you would start rather small on a project. Try to, so if, we had in the episode before we talked about data mesh. So what you have is you have those domains, which then basically build data products, and these data products go into this catalog where everybody can find them and where the governance is applied. So what you can start with is setting up domains as such. Setting up domains which are automatically set up by basically a press of a button that everybody can use, which are some kind of standardization, will already be a larger discussion within a company usually, because what are the standards we want to set? How strict do we want to do that? How do we want to manage that? And then you set a standard. Sometimes it's even good to just start saying, okay, this is a project we want to do, maybe a small greenfield project that we want to do with a modern data stack, and then just start on that, build that stack specifically, build the domain for that, and then use this as a blueprint for future domains, saying, okay, like if you want to start the next data project, then use please this domain. If it's not in the same domain, please use this setup with that thing, and then you add on to what you have done before. So basically you start with the domain, the setup of the domain, the setup what's in the domain, and then you start building one domain, start building a second domain, and once you get to the point that you need to exchange data between the domains and you can choose from within your company what domains you might want to do, then you start building the necessary infrastructure. So meaning a data catalog. If you at the beginning share data that is not that confident, you can even do that without a governance module on top. And then later when you come to the place that you need to do data governance, you can put it on top and work your way up that way. So what I say is basically take one project that is important anyway, which needs to do data, start setting up your basic setup of a domain with automation, and then go from there to set up your multiple domains as such.
And one question that is very difficult sometimes in the companies is who owns the data? How does it
Uh,
work with the data mesh? Because there are many different parties involved in the data.
yeah, so you define, as we said in the episode before, you say, okay, look, we have a data as a product. So there's a data product manager, and that data product manager belongs to the domain. So he's responsible for the data. So as we have a product like, let's say, the largest parts, Facebook, Zoom, Teams, whatever, you have a product manager who is responsible to decide on what features do we do, um, what is developed next, and to make it stable. So to have stable interfaces, stable things to call functions from it. So the same as for data. You decide what features does your data have. Maybe you build a second product alongside your first one, so a second set of data. You say, what does it need to look like? If you change it, how do you change it? Maybe have a versionized version of the data set to have the old one and the new one at the same time, but say you're going to deprecate the first one and things like that. So you have to have a data owner available, a data product manager who actually is the person to go to. Yeah, and that is a major and important part of it, and you don't find these people easily because they have to understand the data. So oftentimes this goes together with giving an education to your data literacy to your people, to explain them what means data, what needs to work with data, how do we work with data, what needs stability, what needs data stability as such. Yeah, and this is what needs to happen then. Yeah.
And what is the traditional role that could maybe be upskilled to be a data manager?
I mean, obviously, it's product managers who oftentimes have to do with data anyway, so they can be upskilled. Um, but it could also be business domain experts. So people from the domain who understand the domain, who understand what data needs to be delivered to what place at what time, and they need to get the more technical or understanding on a high level, the technical part taught. So you can approach it from both sides. So the product manager who learns data and also might need to know the business, but then again, you can also use maybe some kind of data architect or so to upskill them if they want to. You know, it's always a mixed bag of things. So he understands the technical side, but we have, in that case, by experience, you have to be careful that it gets not too technical, but more on a business view of things. And so it's learning either way.
Exactly, yes, especially when we're talking about data mesh, because what we have learned, or at least what I have learned today, is that data mesh is about bringing data closer to people that maybe don't understand the data itself, but they understand the business value that can be created, and they know
Yes.
the problems. Very good.
Yeah, and to have a person that bridges this part, that's the one you have to find, or most likely have to educate that you have this person.
And what is your recommendation for companies that are already in their journey towards their own data mesh?
Oh, there are a couple of companies which do this actually. If you look at Zalando, if you look at some of the banks, you can find a couple of podcasts and informations about this. The guys who started doing this or wrote together this concept is the Mark Degani from ThoughtWorks. So they have a lot of information on it, and they have also information on people who started this. HelloFresh is, for instance, one of the companies which published a very interesting view on that they implemented this for themselves and to make data available. Yeah, but actually, if you look at it from a perspective, none of them are really far in their road. A lot of them have a couple of domains established, a couple of tool set, but oftentimes there's still a lot of cultural discussions going on and convincing of the people. And if you look at that, you always need to go a little bit from top down, and you have to have the support from the top that you want to do it, and then you have to start going into the phase of that you want to implement it, as we said, probably with smaller project at the beginning to build the whole thing up. Yeah.
Good.
So yeah, this is it. And then you have the software side of things that we talked about earlier in the initial episode, is you need to think about what is the software your company can use, the people know and use, and this is what you have to adjust in a way so that it fits your use case and your way of using data mesh. Yeah, for some company it might be that you have real data engineers and data scientists working on some of the problems, and you need data engineering, data science tools like Databricks. But in others, you might can use low code stuff like Nime for the engineering and data science part, or even like Azure Synapse or tools from AWS, which allow you to build the stack, and then even with just data analysts. So it depends on a little bit about the availability of people you have within your company, what you have to decide on.
Good. And then if any company needs support if they are in the journey towards their data mesh or they are considering an initial POC, then feel free to reach Miron. I will add his link to LinkedIn in the description. Good. Then thank you very much, Miron, for the great introduction into data mesh. It was fantastic to have you with us, and I'm looking forward to more episodes with you.
Thank you. I'm looking forward as well.
Have a
Have
nice
a
day,
great day.
Miron. Bye.